Alright guys, so for this tutorial we are going to be making a dragon's eye pendant for a necklace. This is the eye that I will be using. Of course it is a 30 millimeter. I don't have a quarter right offhand anywhere, but here is a nickel so you can compare the size, just in case you want to. No. But it is hand painted. I just painted this just earlier today, so it's not 100% fully cured. It's dry enough that I can sit here and touch it and everything. But I like to let my eyes dry for at least 24 to 48 hours. But I'm on a time crunch. So for this one I will be using 18 gauge silver wire, and of course the 26 gauge in silver. I've got out three pieces of 17 inches of all three. So I'm going to kind of make it not quite as big, not as out there, so to speak. But for my tools, of course, you will need your flush cutters. I've got handy my nylon pliers, though I might not need it, I'm not sure. Of course, a pair of bent nose pliers. You will more than likely need a pair of bent nose pliers. You may need some chain nose pliers. I just personally prefer to use bent nose pliers because it does the same thing. That's just my personal choice. I would suggest if you have any flat nose pliers that you may want to keep them handy, especially for when we make the bends. They may come in handy unless you decide to kind of make a turn or twist or curlicue or whatever. But I personally do like to make a nice sharp bend in my wire, and these do help a lot with doing that. So I've already got I think I pulled off about a 1.5 arm span of the 26 gauge. It might have been just a little bit more. But as I've said before, I don't really measure out my weaving or wrapping wire, just because sometimes you really don't know exactly how much you're going to need. Now, with the base wires, I do usually measure those out. So for something like this, depending on the size of the eye that you use, depending on how much detail you want to put into it, you may change the length of your base wires. But I chose 17 inches, so it would go really well around this side and then back around, and then make some decorative elements back on either side too. So that's just what I chose to do. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause this real quick, kind of clean this up, and then we're going to get started with our wrapping. Alright, so we're back. I've kind of cleaned up my work area a bit. At this point, go ahead and measure out the length of wire that you choose to use for your base wires. As I've said, I'm using 17 inches of 18 gauge silver plated silver. You can use whatever color wire you want. You can use whatever gauge that you want. I do really like 18 gauge. Obviously, I got the bulk. But I've measured the 18 gauge out. I've measured my 26 gauge out. If you do not already have an eye, I'd suggest probably painting one up. I did paint on this earlier, and luckily it's dry enough that I think I can do okay with it. But I still am going to set it up like this so that hopefully it won't mess it up, just to let it continue to dry. But for my weave, I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to make it look like eyelashes. So this part that we're going to work on is going to be going over the top of the eye. So I want to kind of make it look like eyelashes, which I've only made two dragon's eyes previously, and it never turns out the same. It never turns out like I want it to, but that's okay. So I'm going to start off and going to take the end of my wire And I'm going to bend this side over, trying to keep it fairly nice and tight. And I'm actually just going to wrap the very end of it all the way around until I can't wrap it anymore. And then I'm going to try to get it nice and tight. This is when your pliers, whether it's chain nose or what have you, will come in handy. And then I'm actually going to turn it around because I don't like to waste wire if I can help it. And this is when actually a pair of bent nose pliers will come in handy, in my opinion. Just to get it down nice and flat, nice and tight. And make sure it's not going to snag. It kind of snags a little bit, but I think the end will be towards the other wires. So now that I've got that, now what you want to do is you want to decide if you want your weave to go down or if you want your weave to go up. And that will depend on how you want it to look. I think for this one, I'm actually going to go up with it. So I'm going to bring this up and over. Oops. I'm going to bring the wire up and over, and I'm going to wrap around both 2 times. This is going to be what I call a fire weave. I've done this weave on several projects, and I don't know what it is. I love this weave. So now I'm going to bring in my third, and if you're using more than 3, and you like this, if you're like me and you like this weave, you can just continue on with it. All you do, so I brought it over these 2 original wires, and I'm actually going to bring it in between those 2 originals. Okay, so now it's only completely wrapping around the center wire now, and it's going to come up and over that one we just added, back down and back in between. And this actually might look really good. Actually, I know it would look really good with a 4th base wire. I just don't want something too big, too gawky. I'm not sure if my client will like it or not, because this is an ordered item, a pre-ordered item that I've actually had the order in for a while, and I haven't had time to do it. But I'm making time because it's Labor Day weekend when I'm recording this. So I just, you saw I have it around the bottom wire, then I have around 2, and then the top 2, and then I'm bringing around the bottom 2 again. And I'm just feeding it through. Make sure it stays nice and tight. Now, one thing you can do with either your nylon jaw or your flat nose is this is when you can come in with either one. Does not really matter which. You come in and you can flatten that down and make it look really nice, and that really helps it. So at this point, I can either just continue on like this, or I could actually incorporate these little beginning wires. And I think that's what I'll do to kind of give it a little bit of space between, is I'll do that. Now, one thing you may choose to do, because sometimes when you have multiple wires that you have to hold, it can be difficult. You can get out some kind of a clamp. I have this wooden clamp. I also have some small spring clamps, which I think the spring clamp might work pretty well for just 3 wires. But I've noticed that that spring clamp is so small that it has a hard time holding on to more than 2. It can hold on to 3, but it just has a hard time. It's just so small. You can always get the 1-inch clamps, 2-inch clamps. I have a couple of 2-inch clamps because when I went to get my clamps, I couldn't find any 1-inch, and I said, well, you know what? Now, if you notice in my clamp, I do not have any material between either of the blocks. I have not had time or the chance or the material to put any there. And I have noticed, though, as long as I do not clamp it down too tight, it will not mark up my wires. So if you have a couple pieces of wood and some screws and bolts and stuff, you can make this yourself, so you do not absolutely have to have all the sweet bells and whistles like everybody else does. You can make do with what you have. So I'm just going to continue on with my weave. I got 2 on the bottom right there. I'm going to do 2 more. Because I believe on that side, I believe it's 3. But I'm just going to do a total of 4. Just so it's a nice even number. And it gives a nice little bit of space in between each of the intricate weaves. So I'm going to back up and around. And this is very difficult to do because I don't have a whole lot of space. So when it comes to doing this, you don't want to pull it too tight and then not leave a little bit of a gap between your wires, because you will later on want to have that gap. Especially when you go back through between the wires, that's what you want. You want to keep that little bit of a gap. So you want to have it nice and tight. And you see, I just kind of push it with my nail. Okay. And I am pulling this way a little bit, but not much. Just enough to kind of get the wire to stay straight is really all I'm doing. And you see, I keep making sure that my base wires are staying out of the way from each other, because they are quite long. 17 inches is a lot of wire. So now I'm back in between, coming up and over. Okay. Making sure I use my nails. If you don't have enough nails that you can always use your pliers. I have had to do that myself. No shame in that. Back around. The thing with it is, instead of keeping it pulled super duper tight, you want to make sure that the wires stay straight and they stay aligned with each other and they look good. That's really more of the goal, because I've noticed that if I do get the wires super duper tight, that, you know, it makes the wires wonky, and it makes it harder on yourself. It really does. Let's see. And it does take a good bit of practice to not get your wires super duper tight, but, you know, just keep at it, and you can and will do it. It will happen. It took me a little while. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to flatten all this down. Okay, so there is what it's looking like so far. And I think from here, I'm going to go off camera, and I'm going to weave for a good little bit, and then I will meet you back when I think I've got enough done, which will only be a couple of inches. So I'll see you when we get back. Okay guys, I'm back. So I've done, I want to say probably about 2 inches of this weave, and I think it'll be enough, because I'm also going to leave just a little bit bare on either side of the base wire. So I'm going to go ahead, and I think we're going to go ahead and take off the clamp. I'm going to take off my clamp, and so you're probably thinking, well, you know, you say that it doesn't make any dents or anything, but there's one right there. That's from me. So, hey, don't be discouraged to use a clamp that doesn't have anything on it. But this is what our wires are looking like, and you want to make sure you keep it nice and compact. And as I said, I do go through every time that I make a full thing, and I go through with my nylon jaws, and I flatten it down. And I see I kind of got a wire a bit high on that one right there. Don't know if you can see it very well. You can see it there a little bit, but it'll be okay, I think. So I'm just putting a nice gentle curve in there. I see my peak is way over here instead of being over here, so I'm just kind of trying to compensate. It's got a nice curve to it. And I do want this to kind of wrap over top, like that, kind of. And I think that this is going to do really well. I think that that's going to be enough of that weave right there. So I think at this point, what you want to do is you want to say, what do you want to do with this portion of your wire? What do you want to do with this portion of your wire? This portion of my wire, I want to come underneath, But how is the question. Of course, I don't want my eye to stick to my table because it's not, like I said, it's not 100% dry yet. So I think I'm gonna I'm gonna find my little nice tipped Sharpie, and somewhere I think about right here, I'm just gonna make a little line right there because that's where I want my bends to be. So I think what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I like to make a sharp bend. That's just my own personal preference. Like I said, you could always just like continue on right here and then just kind of like do some kind of swirl or something. So you do not have to follow with what I'm doing. But I'm going to bring my pliers right here where I made my little line at. And I'm just going to put a nice sharp bend in there. Whoops. Nice sharp bend. And then I'm going to come in, and as you can see, it's not quite going to be right with that line. So I've got to separate my wires so I can get my pliers in there. So what I've got to do is I've got to come out just a little bit from where that line is, and I'm going to have to do the exact same. So I'm keeping this line straight instead of this line. And I'm just another little bend, okay? And one last time about right here. A nice bend. So they still kind of sit nicely next to each other. And I've got a little bit more of a gap there than I wanted, but that's okay. You can fix that if you want, or you can leave it. That's totally up to you. But from here you can do any number of things. You can put some beads in here for like the corner of your eye if you wanted to. I'm trying to think of what I want to do though. I think I'm going to straighten this center wire back out, which when I use my flat nose pliers, I like to use them to straighten a wire out. So I'm going to have to go at it from this side. And it's going to have to kind of sit over top of the others. So I'm going to flatten that out. Whoops, whoops, and I'm getting tangled up. Ooh, I'm getting tangled up in my setup. Ooh. So I'm just coming in, trying to get this wire to be flat in all directions if it can be helped. Which you see, it's not quite. There we go. And that's much better. Because I do kind of want to put a couple little swirls in there. Just a little, like, decoration. Nothing major. Just a little something to give it something to look at. Something pretty. But this will shorten your wire up. So keep in mind, if you're going to do anything like this, this is going to shorten this wire up a good bit. And for what I think I have planned for the bottom portion, I think it'll be okay. So, doing that. Okay. And that just gives it a little something different. Whoops. And I realized I was off camera. I'm sorry. So, let's see how that's looking. I kind of like that, guys. I kind of like that. I need to flatten it out pretty good. So instead of coming in with my flat nose, I'm going to come in with a nylon jaw and squish it down, try to get it kind of in the same plane, so to speak, and pull this wire out if I can get it to cooperate. Here we go. Alright. I'm going to kind of get it to, there we go. There we go, that's much better. And really, I wanted this little more in the corner, but it will be fine. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to thread it in between. And I'm going to I got to find the end because it's really long still. I made my wire extra long today. And I'm going to put it through this first little swirl. I'm keeping my hand here between either end because I want to make sure I do not get it kinked up. And then finding where it's going to kink out, straighten it out. Okay, now that it should not kink any further. And it starts to. That's okay. That's why you want to keep an eye on it anytime you do something like this. So I'm just doing that. Now, if you have a hole big enough, what I suggest is you push this part through. That definitely keeps it from kinking up. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes it's quite difficult. But now I'm going to take my end again, and I think this time I'm going to feed it through here. So this little, hopefully you see that, this little gap right here, okay. Feed it on through there. Again, keeping something between either end and just feeding it through. Okay, that did very nicely. That did not kink up at all, yay. It just kind of continues on a little bit with your coiling a little bit. And I see that didn't go where I wanted it to. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. And I'm going to feed it over top. And I think I'm going to feed it in this middle, the middle little swirl here. And the thing about this not being in the center, hey, it's just a small little defect that makes this dragon's eye necklace unique. You know, I mean, if you want, you can go through and you can go back and you can make it straight. But for me, I'm personally not going to worry about it too much. Because like I said, I just see it that it's just something that makes it that much more unique of an item. So coming back around and finding my end again. I'm seeing that maybe 2 arm spans might have been too much. But who am I kidding? When it comes to wire, you can almost never have enough. And I'm getting the kink again. Trying to keep that from happening, if it's at all possible. And right there. Okay. And then back around, which I'm going ahead and over this one. And see, this way the wire is behind here and it won't be quite as visible. So around that one once more with feeling. If you know what that is off of, put it in the comments below. If you know what once more with feeling is from. A little pop quiz for you. And I tell you what, anybody, the first person who comments and knows what that line is from, I started to say PM because I'm thinking Facebook. I will private message you, but you have to give, or email or something, but you have to give me a way to contact you. And I will send you something special for free on me, okay? So nice little contest going, okay? And I'm not going to say what it is anymore now. I've already said it like 3 or 4 times. So if you know what that is, down in the comments, okay? So now we got to figure out what we want to do with these 3. I personally don't want to continue this weave. As much as I love this weave, it's such a pretty weave. I don't want to continue on with it. I want to do something different. And And really, at this point, you could do something totally different. You could add in some colored wires, nearly anything that you want. And I'm just kind of shaping my wire to see how it's going to be, and kind of want it more like that. I like that. Yes, 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 yes. I think that's going to look pretty good. Though I don't like this empty space, but we'll figure that out later. Just like this is a lot of empty space as well, but we can come to that when it gets there. But do we want to just do 2 wires or 3 wires? 2 wires. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to coil up this wire right here. Just coils. That's all I'm going to do. So it's going to be a little difficult, so I'm going to have to straighten this all right back out. I'm going to separate this wire right here. But luckily, I have plenty of my weaving wire, so I can coil it. Okay. And when I coil, one thing I learned from Yvonne Williams is if you're going to do a lot of coiling, work down towards your end. That way you can do this number right here, and then you push it down, and then you do more, and then you push it down, and you do more, and you push it down. But because all of this, all of my wrapping wire is connected, I can't really do that. So I'm going to have to do it the slow and steady way, and I just did that wrong way. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to coil all of this weaving wire onto my base wire right here, and then when I get that done, I will get back on here and we will start off doing something with these bottom 2 wires. Okay, guys, welcome back. So I did finish coiling up this base wire right here. I got to the end of my wire. That was the whole length. I was like, holy smokes. And the funny thing is, I got to about right here, and I realized, oh, I've got too much. But I thought, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. I will use the rest of this elsewhere. So from here, we got to figure out what we want to do, what kind of wrapping we want to do on, or weaving we want to do on these. There's multiple things we could do. We could use colored wire. We could use a half round wire to wrap it. We could, any number of things. Put some beads on there with some wrapping or something, which I actually had that thought for this, but I'd already gotten to about here. And that's when I thought, oh, I could add some beads. Nope, I'm not going to. It's too late. So I did not want to undo all that. I was just like, nope, it's just, this is how it's going to be now. This is how it's going to be. But I think it's looking good so far. And I definitely, let's see, I want that to be up and over it. Like that. Yes. Let's see, and I'm trying to think what, I definitely want that to be a little bit more curved, but that's something that'll wait. And I'm not sure where my colored wire is right offhand. I'm going to try to find something, and I'll be right back, and I'm going to pause the video. Okay, I'm back. I think I found, I don't want that to stick. Ooh, I think I found some beads that would look good. These right here. It's different shades of purple. They're really pretty. Some of them have a, have like a clear coat to them, and I just realized that would probably help. Some of them have like a clear, some of them are solid color, some of them have kind of a almost a matte finish. It's not quite a matte finish, but it's almost. And I thought there was some that did have a matte finish, but I'm wrong, it looks like. But I think these would go really pretty with this eye in that way, because it's different shades of purple in there. These have different shades in it, so I think that'll look really good with that. So I think that's what we're going to use. We're going to alternate the different beads throughout it somehow. Gonna get out a few more than that. I almost wanted to add these right here. I don't know, I can't remember what kind they're called, but they are most definitely square. They do have that rainbow kind of peacock look to them, and they're really pretty. And I have some others that are long, similar to that, but they're long, and this is one of them. And I absolutely love them. I just haven't really found an appropriate project to use them, to work with it. These are some of my seed beads, obviously. And of course I have some crystals in here, which I may end up using one of those, and I have some purples as well. I'll probably use one of those as two, and so I'm going to put this up. And real quick, I'm actually going to go ahead, while I'm thinking about it, and pull out one of those purples. So there's my pretty purple one. Get it in there. Of course, it's right there. So there's that. Only other purple anything that I really have is like amethyst chips, amethyst chip beads, and I don't really want to use that for this. They make really pretty trees of life, though, I will say that. So I think we're just gonna continue on with using some more silver wire. I'm gonna probably just pull off a good arm span, so I'm gonna have to pull it around, and I hope and pray that this is going to end up being enough, because it's gonna be my luck, it probably won't. So this is how I like to cut mine off, that way it doesn't unravel the whole entire spool. And then of course I run my hand over the length of the wire. It kind of helps straighten that out. It warms it up a little bit and kind of gets it ready, especially the ends. The ends will end up being kind of wonky. So from here we can flip these around. Well, maybe not. Flip that around. And you can just start off by coiling a little bit on one of the two wires. I wouldn't coil too much, but I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to do just a couple of coils. 3. Alright, and then now I'm going to finish this end up just like I did at the very beginning at the top, and squish it together. And I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to get my thick pair of bent nose pliers. Try to get this end to be, oops, to sit nice, flat down onto the base wire. Alright, let's see. Yep, that's good. Alright, so now I'm just going to push this, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's going to make 5. Alright. Let's see. And I'm just going to push it to about there. That's a pretty good little spot. So that's 5. So now what we want to do is we want to figure out what we want to do with our beads. Which I'm just going to put a few right here. And these are some that you can tell, obviously, they're different sizes and shapes and stuff, but they are seed beads. I think they're the larger size. I think they're 6.0, something like that, or 0.6, or however they are. So I'm probably just gonna pull one out. I'm going to thread it on, which if you don't know if it'll work, yeah, try it first off, try it ahead of time to see if it will work, and hopefully it will. So I'm going to thread that one on right there. Whoops. Don't move. I want you right there. And then I'm just going to wrap that around one. Ooh, don't go nowhere. Two. Come back here. 3. 4 and 5. Okay, so now I'm going to take, and I have to pull this up because I'm going to get this little pair, and I've got to rotate the wire, and I've also got to squish it together because it didn't really want to stay good and tight where I wanted it to be. Okay. And to get this tight, because obviously this wire that's running across here did not stay tight like I wanted it to, I'm going to turn this portion to tighten up on that. Alright. And so there's that. That's really good. And I just realized I messed my nail up. Oh well. So now I'm going to cross over to the bottom wire, and I'm going to do another 5 coils around just the bottom wire, which this is kind of tricky because this wire keeps sitting up on top. There we go. Which this is tricky anyway because I'm used to holding my work a lot closer to me so I can see a lot better. So this makes 4. And instead of doing that, I'm having to just keep it right here so y'all can see. This one makes 5. Okay. And I like to go in, compress it down really well. Okay. And again, that kind of is moving a little bit. And there's not much you can do about that. So I'm going to come in with the same shade, same color of seed bead. Thread that on. I'm going to attempt to do the exact same thing as I did the previous time. Okay. Attempt being the key word in that sentence. Keeping it nice and tight if it will. 2, 3, 4, and that one makes 5. Okay, so it did okay. It didn't do exactly how I wanted it to, but it's looking okay so far. So that stayed fairly tight, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so now we're going to come, we're actually going to go under both. If this, it's the only problem is it gets tangled up with each other, with itself. And I'm actually, instead of coming that way, I'm going to come around and under both. Blah. Words are hard, guys. And I'm going to do another 5. 1, 2. Careful not to get your wire tangled up or anything. So this one makes 3. This one's 4. And then that one's 5. Okay. So now I'm going to come in with, one of these. It's kind of more of a cloudy kind of color. It's really pretty. I do like it. So that gives good little like contrast, so to speak. Okay. Very carefully holding it really nice and tight. That makes 1. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So from here, I would then thread around, up and over, and do another 5. So you get the idea. You get what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue this off camera as well. And when I probably, it won't take much, probably get to about here, about another inch, something like that, we'll meet you back here. Alright guys, so I'm back again, and as you can see, I got that finished. I kind of turned it so I could see if I had enough, and I sure do. I'm happy with that. So it gives a little bit of extra something, but I don't think it gives too much. I don't think it takes away too much. I think it actually adds a little bit of something to it, you know. Because I'm about to go to bed. It's like almost 11 o'clock at night when I'm recording this, so it's late for me. So now at this point, now that I've got this portion to the point where I'm happy, I think we're gonna cross these wires over our beginning wires. The thing is, you want to make sure that when you do this portion that you don't get it too tight and it doesn't, you know, over cover your eye, however you have it looking. So I think, and plus you want to get the shape of the eye as close, you know, pretty well. So I think about like that's going to be pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hold all this down as well as I can, and I'm just going to bend these two, whoops, over this. And now I'm going to take, probably should take my other ones, yeah. Take these, they're thicker. They're a lot more sturdy. Bending those and getting those to lay flat, which I'm actually going to turn them a little bit too, and try to get them to lay down really nicely. This can be quite tricky, which you could probably use if you've got a good pair of flat nose pliers. That'd probably work really well too. Keep that wrapping tight. Ooh, but don't mess it up. And it could use a little bit more, which I just realized I was off camera. I'm sorry. I am horrible at that. Good grief. Hopefully I will be getting better as I do more, make more videos though. Heaven forbid I get worse. So, let's see. And from here, and I actually do want to make sure, I want these wires to come up like that. And kind of come over the eye a bit. Kind of let it sit in there. Alright, and I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. So I can actually do this right here gently. Yay! So now you can do work on these wires, bringing them like over. You could take these wires and bring them over top if you want, either way. But I think for this moment, I'm going to call it a night. And I'm going to think on what I want to do for this from here on, and we shall see you tomorrow, so later in the video for you, to finish working on this, hopefully finish it up. So yay, we'll see you later. Oops. Alright guys, we're back. It's the next day. It is currently actually Sunday, and I got all of this finished right here with the little beads, and got that finished. I got it attached over here on this side, just wrapped it around real good, which I think I showed this part in the other, but it's been like a few hours, so I can't remember, and I slept. So that's how it's looking so far, which I'm happy very much about this so far. But now we got to figure out what we want to do with these 2 wires, these 3 wires, and this wire. And I think obviously I'm probably going to use these 2 to help attach or keep the eye in somehow. So I may just kind of like bring one up and bring one, like, I don't know, do something. Putting something on the back has always been my downfall. I'm never really all that great at it. But that's okay, because, you know, as long as we try, and that's the point. Because who all is really going to see the back of it too much? You know what I mean? But I do like how it is turning out. It is turning out quite nice so far. So now we just kind of got to go from here a little bit. But the thing is, I don't want to make it too big. I don't want to put too much on it, you know. So, you know what I mean. And what should we do? Plus, I do still have these 2 glass bicones that I do want to add to it somewhere. Of course, the purple, I think it's a purple AB, and then this is just a clear AB. And I want to say that they are glass, but I could be wrong. Especially this one might be actually a crystal, but I'm not sure. Anyway, don't ask me where I got them from, because I can't remember either. So there's those. And so, of course, at this point, with these 2, this can be still adjusted a little bit. So if I wanted to pull it in a little bit, I could, or whatever. And I kind of do want to turn that in just a little bit more, but I don't want this to be too much. I don't know. Anyway, definitely probably gonna curve this up about like that. And actually, I want more of a sharp curve like that one, because I do want it to be able to hold the cabochon, the glass cabochon, on fairly well. So I think that would be pretty good. And I think if I can do the very opposite way, which I'm actually gonna hold this still and just kind of do that, so that way that one's out of the way a little bit. Curve this one up, and then this way, because what we'll do, what we'll do is when we get more to that point, we will attach these points of the wire to this part of the wire work. Same with this portion right here will be attached to the bottom somehow. And of course, I'm kind of just leaving it kind of loose a little. I'm just gonna turn it about like that, and then right there, and then later with what's left from right here, we can use that a little bit more as some like decoration or something. And I think that would actually be pretty good, because I usually, because typically with my stuff, when I need some attaching wires, or wires to hold on to the back of it, it usually ends up looking kind of wonky. But that actually seems to be doing really well, and that doesn't look bad. I actually don't think that looks too bad at all. May have to kind of make it come out just a little bit to make the difference of the size of the glass cabochon. And that may need to come up a little, I don't know. Pull that out just a little to make room. And I do want to come in and again kind of turn that a little. I'm going to make sure these are kind of turned as well a little bit. There we go. So it's more surrounding the eye. Yes, that's looking awesome. Yes, 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 yes. Woohoo! That's actually making me really excited. I'm really liking that. And I think what we might do with the coiled wire right here is might just go ahead, bring that into a tight spiral, feed that up and through here, which I will actually take my pliers and kind of make it go where I want to. And I have learned that when you're working with a coil, I don't really want to, aside from like getting it to go where I want it to, I don't want to pull it from where the coil is. I want to pull it from where the bare base wire is. I've learned that one thing. If anything else, I've learned that. And then you could just kind of use this like as decoration, which I was planning on anyway, but this just kind of helps. Feed it like up through here a little bit. Yes. And get that to cooperate. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. Then I think back around once more. Probably doing something like this. One thing is I need that to sit a little bit more like that. There we go. That's better. All right. That's looking good so far. Okay. And I think actually instead of this coming up like this, I want it to come through here a little more. Okay. And then I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to take these and kind of flatten this end out a little bit. Because again, I do like using, I like working with a straight piece of wire if at all possible. But I'm going to come in, I'm going to go ahead and come in with these round nose pliers. Let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and swirl it. Just a little swirl, nothing too big or major or anything like that. Of course, that will tighten this up, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine with me. If I can get it to come back here. Come back here. There we go. That's what I wanted. And get this to, I think I am going to get it to tighten up. There we go. There we go. I actually have to loosen that spiral. There we go. That's looking better. Pull it out. And then I'm going to pull, I like these little tiny, I don't know where these came from exactly. My mother had them and I stole them. And I like, when I'm making a spiral, I like using this portion right here, this flat portion of these pliers to hold on to my spiral, because I don't know what it is, the difference between using flat nose and these, but I feel like these get a good grip. I don't know, I'm weird. But I am going to pull that out so it doesn't fall. And then I'm going to, real quick, gonna tighten that up some. Spiral that in really nice. remember to stay on camera. Which I actually just now thought about that, and I could have instead, I could have added one of these to that center spot and then spiraled it in, but oh well. Kind of too late now, and that's okay, because I actually do like that. That's actually really pretty. I like that little bit of spiraling. That's really nice. I'm happy with that portion. And which actually, instead of having to use, we will use some more of the weaving wire, especially to attach this portion of the wires to it. But this part, we can go ahead and thread through something like right here a little bit. Sorry about that. My daughter hit the TV and I'm like, no. I'm gonna go ahead and feed that part through too. Go play. I'm recording, honey. Go play, please. Sorry. Things that you have to do when you have children. Especially if you're a single mama like me. Because I'm doing this. I'm doing the whole YouTube tutorial thing. I mean, for one, because I do love making this stuff, but then also it gives me something extra to do. Hopefully one day it'll become, you know, maybe it'll become a little extra income for me. So that would be a very nice perk. So, all right. So this attaches to these, which I will go ahead, bend that, make it a nice flat bend. And I'm actually pull out the pliers I want to use. And I'm going to move that one. I'm going to go ahead, make that a nice flat bend on there. There we go. And I'll go ahead, bend that one as well. And it kind of attaches it a little bit, but it won't be super duper attached just yet. And I see it's not really, wrong one. Which actually, you can always do that. There we go. And that bent a lot more where I wanted the bend to be at, instead of just where it's going to bend at. There we go. And that way, those are super nice and tight. It's not secure, obviously, but you see it is holding it. So that's awesome. So now with these, we can just use these as some kind of decoration if you want. You could do some extra weaving. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do though. We're going to go ahead. I think I'll go ahead and I'll use the weaving wire to attach these to get the eye a good bit more stabilized, hopefully. And get these wires to go and do how I want them to do. And of course I'll have to bring this one up and this one down. And I do still have a pretty good length of my weaving or wrapping wire left. And of course it's coming out from right here. So let's see, where's my end at? Right here. So I'm just going to attach it and weave it through, if it'll go, through both of these. Keeping, hopefully, keeping it from tangling up, which it's trying to a little bit. And I keep hitting this this thing. I've got my phone on. Keep hitting it, and I don't mean to, so I do apologize about that. I'm still, and it's quite close to my work area, so I have a very, very limited space to work with. I'm keeping, I don't want that tangled up. Keeping that up, pulling it through, whoops, a good bit more. I always do at least 2 times. At least. So that made one full rotation. Even though that was my second thread through. Oops. There goes my eye. And this will be a third thread through, but it'll only be the second full rotation. Go ahead and I'll put my fingers right there. Alright, so now you can see, whoops, now you can see that it has been wrapped around twice, okay? So I'm going to go back and at this point we're about to attach it. So now you do want to, which it's not, it keeps doing that. Okay, that's better. So which side do we want up? Which side do we want down? I think I want it, whoop. I think I want it looking like this. So we're going to turn it around. And luckily the way I have the paint on, the nail polish on, you can tell which direction it's going, a little bit at least. So we're going to put that back in there. Find my end of the wire again. And this time I'm going to loosely wrap up a little bit. Oh. Like that. Find my end again. I'm going to go through once more. And again, I'm just going around this single wire. And I'm trying not to block my camera, but again, you know, I do only have so much room to work. So it's quite difficult. And just on, it's a little higher than I wanted it to be. But you get back in there. Make sure it's, yeah, all right. And I guess something that you could do, you could probably take a piece of Scotch tape or something and tape it on there. But I'm not. Let you see what a kind of a hard time I'm having. And of course I'm going to run my hand through the wire again, get it warmed up again. And now this time I'm going to feed it right here. And this is going to attach and help stabilize, hopefully. We shall see. And get that to come down and sit how I want it to. And where I want it to. And I'm just going to pull just gently, not too much. I probably did too much, but let's see. And then at least one more time. I'm probably going to do 3 times though. For something like this, it would be better to do this 3 times. And I just realized I need this wire out. So, right in and through there, okay. And come back, find my end. Ooh. And once more with feeling. And coming back through. Oops, right there, yeah. Alright, now from here, I'm going to just weave under here. And that's not where I want it. That's when your little handy dandy bent nose, thin bent nose pliers will come in handy. Get in there and grip it. And come in. And I hope that this video did not end up too long for y'all. That's why, especially for a lot of the major portion of the weaving that I did try to show y'all what I was doing, and then like take a pause, finish it up, and then come back and show you what else I was doing and stuff, so that hopefully it would cut down on the time, because something like this, it does take time. I've made 2 other dragon eye necklaces, and both took at least 5 hours. At least 5 hours to make. So they are a bit time consuming, because it does, even if you don't put a lot of detail in it, like about like the way I'm doing this one, it still takes time. It still takes quite a bit of time. And you're probably thinking I'm using awful lot of this wire, the weaving wire, but you will see you will more than likely need a good portion of wire to get everything attached, to get everything where you want it, how you want it, and everything. If you've never made a dragon's eye before. Dragon's eye necklace, I should say. It's getting tangled. There we go. Okay, back this way, and see, it's getting, there we go. There we go. Because at this point, let's see, where's that? Where'd you go? Nope. There we go. And so I attached it there. So now I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to attach it here a few times, bring it back up, pull it through here, and then back up there. And I think I will do all this off camera, and then I will come back and I will show you what I did. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got all of this finished. As you can see, it's all attached, ending right here on this side, so this way you hopefully have a pretty good look. I tried to keep it fairly minimal so it doesn't look like it's all just crapped, which it still kind of is a little bit, but it's not too bad. I've definitely had worse work than this, but so now I got to figure out where I want this wire to definitely come out at. And I'm right-handed, so this is going to be quite difficult because I'm going to be using my left hand. And I'm going to pull this through one more time, just because for some reason I want it to. Don't ask me why. Excuse me. And then that way, that's pretty good and attached. Yeah. Okay, so now we want to figure out what we want to do with these 2 wires and what we want to do with these wires. So I do kind of like this in the fact that you can have this kind of like your attachment point for your necklace, possibly, if you want to. Which, I don't know, I might go back and move this over. I may just add one of the bicones right there. I haven't decided yet, because I don't want it to, I want it to have enough and be filled, but I don't want it to be too busy and too filled, you know. Which I'm actually going to go in right here and kind of move that a little bit. Alright, that looks a good bit better, which I'd rather it come down right here, but that's okay with me. And I think, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to undo this coil, hopefully without messing up the 26 gauge coil, which it seems to be doing okay. Alright, and from here, I'm going to put this in there. Try to, which this is almost always a bad idea to undo a coil, because then, you know, but sometimes you do what you gotta do. Alright, straighten that up, which you can see, as I've pointed out in previous videos, if you look really close at the end of that wire, it's mangled up, it's just, it doesn't look great, and sometimes you cannot help that. But luckily this bead will pretty well cover that up, which hopefully I can use this to help swirl it. There we go. Yes. Okay, and that helps to fill that in a little bit, which that doesn't look so great. But, might just change that and pull this out and have this just come straight out. That's what I'll do. Oops. And see, I just messed that up. Ooh. Oh, come on. Alright, so hopefully that's straight enough that, yep, good, 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 good. So I'm going to push that back down. It messed it up a little bit, but that's not that bad. Alright, so I'm going to straighten this part out, which actually, that's going to come back around here. Untwist this, which I did like how that looked, but I'm just going with something different. There we go. There we go. And this is kind of, it's okay. Don't be a perfectionist, Star. I'm going to come back in. Whoops. And I just chipped the bead, so be careful. Don't do like I just did. Alright, and I'm going to do my best to swirl this. Get it to look fairly nice, hopefully. Keep it all the same plane, hopefully. Alright. Alright, and that does quite a bit. That helps fill that in a lot. Which actually, see, I should have thought about this before. I want this to come in here. Maybe it'll go. Come on, go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Yay. There we are. And that'll actually give me a little bit more room to move this how I want it. There we go. Oops. That's the only downside where I've already attached it. This is trying to move. So, okay. So I'm actually going to put that there. There we go. Alright. Excuse me. And now what to do from here? Because I need to somehow also attach this. And I think I will take this wire. Because it doesn't hurt to have a bare wire or two around things. Sometimes it looks nice. There we go. And that kind of helps attach that a little bit. Yeah. Push that through here. Which I like to keep. Of course I do. That's weird. I'm weird. I like my wire to stay halfway straight if it's possible. Alright. I'm actually going to come in with nylon jaws. There we go. Alright. Now, okay, that attached that. We may not use that one. I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to come in to this loop. At this point, I do need to use some pliers because it's a little small. Hold on. My child is crying. I got to see what's wrong with her. I'm back again. Sorry about that. Again, if you have kids, you know how it is. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to swirl this. I'm going to use the biggest point on this to make a good little swirl. Okay. Somehow that ended up bigger than what I intended. That's okay. Alright, and bringing it in right there. Again, like that. Okay. And that'll be my attachment, one of my attachment points for the chain or whatever I end up hanging this on. So now we have these and we have these. And we have a good bit of stuff going on over here. We need a little bit more over here. But we don't want too much either. That's always the thing. You don't ever want to overdo it, unless that happens to be what the client likes or what you like or whatever. I have made a lot more intricate pieces, you know, not doubting that at all. But for this one, I wanted to keep it a little bit more simplified, just a little. And we do still have this. Because these are almost too short now to do too much with them. And something else that we can do with the weaving wire is bring it back through where it is, and then bring it around this to help attach that a little bit more as well. Especially if you're like me and you feel like it might not be attached enough. Let's see. Pull that down. And then up. And where's my end? Right here. Back. Oops. No. Okay. And of course, it's coming out right down here, but I want it to come out here instead. So I'll pull it through. There we go. Oop. Okay. Oops. I keep hitting everything. I have too much on my desk. I need to clean it off. I seriously do. Alright, and once more, which it won't hurt to come through right there, which I'll hold that, and I will come in, and actually, I may end up just, yeah, I'll do this. I'll feed this end through here instead. Is that coming out where I want it? No, it's not. Let's see. Right there. Yes. Yes. All right. I actually had somebody tell me the other day, someone I personally know, they said, Star, you know, I've watched your tutorials and, you know, I like them. You talk a lot. They're like, you don't talk that much in person. I'm like, yeah, but in a video, I don't want dead air. You know, unless I'm going to put music on it, I don't want dead air. And that's just me. That's all it is. It's just, you know, you watch a video and you think you're going to hear music or something. So I try to think of things to talk about, especially if, as long as it is project related. That's just me personally. And that's one thing I've learned from other. Alright, I'm back. I'm sorry. My phone ended abruptly and I wasn't expecting that. So, can't remember exactly where I was exactly. I think I was like swirling this or something. And I was coming back. I cut the end of my weaving wire. And where I cut it was right in there. And it's really hard to see. I don't know if you can see it at all, but it's right there. Whoops. It's like right in here, up in between, if you can see it at all. But then I decided I was going to take the rest of it, and I'm going to attach it over here, and I'm going to do some coiling on this one, which I'm just doing a few right now just to kind of get it started. Of course, I still have to come in with my pliers and get that down really nice so it doesn't stick out at all. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to keep going once I get my wire decent. And I like to do it up here because since it's not attached anywhere, I can push it on down, and this makes it much easier to sit here and coil it. And I realized I was off camera just then. I keep thinking I have to be way over here, and I don't. I need to be right here, almost directly in front of me, which is kind of neat, kind of nifty. And I'm trying to remember that. I'm still used to my camera being on my actual tripod, like off in the corner, where I have to be over like that. So it's just something I gotta get used to. And just coiling it around. If you have a coiling gizmo, you can do that, you know, if you want to. Of course, you don't have to do that. I don't have a coiling gizmo because I don't have the finances for it, and this is not hard to do. Now, if I had to do this way down here, it would be difficult, but it's not that bad as long as I don't have to do it way down there. I'm just going to go ahead and push that down and keep on coiling. Which, if you wanted to, if you're kind of following along but doing your own, a little different, you could add beads to this and do it in a similar way to how this one is. I mean, you could do just about anything. You could always have just done a nice pattern on both of these wires. Just whatever you choose to do. I don't want to make it too much, but I also don't want to make it too little either. So I'm going to go ahead and take a hold of this, kind of get it to compress a bit. There we go. I'm going to push that down just a little more. Alright. And just keep coiling. Just keep coiling. I'm kooky and I'm crazy, so yeah, there's that. Just keep it on going until I get to the end of the 26 gauge, which I'm almost there. Getting there. Which I need to tighten that down. Push it down a little more so I got a little bit more room, since I'm almost done. I try to do my best and not have any waste. But, I mean, we all know it happens. But usually if I have enough of a piece that I have had to cut off, especially if it's a thicker gauge wire, I usually will, I usually will hold on to that so that in a future project, if I decide that I want to make links for like a necklace or a bracelet or something, that I'll have that. So I just push that on down. I try to compress it what I can. Okay. And actually have it upside down. So now at this point I need to do some type of attachment, like about here, how I did over here. Oops, sorry. My computer decided it was gonna make some noise. So I'm gonna actually do like this. Trying to keep it nice and compressed, if at all possible. And I'm actually gonna feed this through here. Keeping that tight. And I'm gonna make another little swirl. So this will be the other attachment spot. And actually I need to do that the other way around. Other way around. Whoops. I'm separating my coil and I don't mean to. So more like that. Alright. There we go. There we go. So since I'm starting to run out of wire, this is where it's kind of getting a little difficult again. And just trying to feed that through. Keeping that to lay down fairly nice. go through there. And see, that's a little big, so I want to try to tighten that up if I can. All while trying to stay on camera. Yeah, I have a, just in case anybody's curious, I have a Galaxy S6, which I love the phone, don't get me wrong, but I have no way to add a memory card to it. So that's one of the things that I'm not so thrilled about the phone. Otherwise, I love the phone. It's a really good phone. But yeah, no way to add a memory card. Just means I'm limited on storage space. And I'm just going to come in, and this kind of attaches this a little bit. Pull that down. Kind of trying to get it to, don't want to work out. See, that's still awfully big. So I'm going to use my round nose. Hopefully that'll help. There we go. There we go. That looks much better. All right. And kind of come back with these. So I'm trying to feed that through a little bit so maybe I don't have to end it. Cut it off, I should say. There we go. Yay. Alright, and it's still sticking up a good bit more than I really was wanting it to. There we go. That's starting to look much better. Alright. So yeah, that sticks up a bit more than that one does, which we can fix that super quick. There we go. Alright, so there's that. And that kind of fills this up just a little bit more, how this one is. And I think with this, so that there's, again, no waste, we'll just speed it through a couple of good times. On over here. And then back around, up, back through again, which I want it to come out here. All right. And I think just in between here, if it'll fit. Yes, it does. All right. All right, and now how to end it. I think I'm going to put a nice sharp turn on it. And I will have a little bit of something. I'll go ahead and cut this about right there. So that little piece right there, that's just waste. I'm not going to be able to reuse that. And that's okay. I'm going to put that in, pushing in, so it's not sticking out at all. Okay. And I don't really like how my coil's separated right here, but there's not a lot that I can do about that, you know, at all. But I wish I could have included that one, this bicone in there somewhere, but that's okay. So now what we can do, instead of using these, we can just kind of bend them in. We can cut them, and I think that's what I'm going to do, because we don't want, you know, I don't really need to have any more anything else, really. Any more decoration. I think it looks nice. Now these two pieces though, with the difference in the length, I will keep those to something in the future to make some kind of a link for a necklace or a chain or earrings or whatever. Just gonna compress those down, try to get them down really nice. Which those are kind of sticking out a good bit more than everything else, but that would be kind of hard to fix a little bit. Which I've got a hair on my, that's really good. Okay, that helped a little bit. Okay, so there is our final piece, our final result to our wire wrapped dragon eye. I'm happy with that. I really am. Came out looking really pretty good. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope you was able to kind of create with me, that you learned something, and that you liked it. So hopefully, you know, if you do like, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions for future tutorials, I'd love to hear from you about that. And the funny thing is, a cousin of mine who's quite supportive of me just brought me a bag of all this stuff, and a lot of it is labradorite. If you can tell, it's really hard to tell through the bag, but there's quite a bit of labradorite. There's a malachite, and there's some geodes in there, and of course this little bag has more labradorites in there. And those are really pretty, and I cannot wait to use those. So if you have any thoughts and ideas for those, definitely leave that in the comment section. And anything else you'd like to say, maybe your thoughts of how this could be made differently or better, anything at all that you would like to say, I'd love to hear from you. If you used this tutorial to help you to make your own dragon's eye pendant for a necklace, I'd love to see your work. My website is not currently up and running just yet, but it is in the works. Meanwhile, you can find me on Facebook at HNS Designs Now. So I'd love to see your work and what you've done, and how you made your eye, or what eye you used, as well as how you did all your work. So would love to hear from you. Cannot wait to hear from you. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my page. Would love to see you there, and can't wait to see you in the next tutorial. So you guys, hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic week, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.